cottage now at Professor Andrews. Um, the real problem is, or the real concern is his daughter going to make it?
Why? What's wrong with her?
You really should talk to Professor Andrew. He can give you a better idea. You know, even the local cleric has been in to see her, but she just seems to be in this coma. Very bad sweat, and you know, I don't know what it is. He tried to explain it to me, but I'm not a science person, so he'd be able to explain it a lot better.
I'd be willing to bet that Rappuccino experimented on his daughter too, with his obsession with these stupid crystals. But that's just my guess. I guess we can go see him. So basically, I don't know if I missed it, but did anybody get seriously hurt when you guys were attacked? Did all the deputies seem okay? Well, besides us, I mean, any deputies that were back in town?
No, I actually took the worst of it.
Okay.
And thankfully, the other fellows were just some small patch-ups. Again, it was this cut on my arm that we were very concerned about.
And how long?
Well,
what was this?
This
like
was
3 days?
About 3 days ago, while you folks were away.
Do you want us to try and track him down, or do you think he's long gone by now?
I think he's long gone, but you know, if let me put some feelers on the street, and if we get some information, then I'll definitely let you know, and that might be a next thing for you to think about.
Yeah, work the leads or whatever. Okay.
We can go see Rappuccini and the professor in the meantime.
So does he need us? Does he need us to escort the drow, or did he already have one of the other deputies do that?
Well, he has one of the other deputies take the drow to a prisoner's cell.
Okay.
And in terms of he's still going to have to see whether they're going to take him to the front lines and whether, you know, who would escort him there.
Right. Okay.
Maybe in a future week.
Right. We'll
not to be too metagamey.
Right. We will go see if the professor has time for us.
I think I'm gonna go to a local place where I can get something to eat, get some breakfast, and see if I can listen to any rumors or anything about if anybody heard anything. You know, the common folk, what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have these crystals, so I definitely want to go see the professor.
And I have these siren feathers, so I want to go see him too.
Okay. So Chris is going to the local eatery, and then everybody else is going to the professor.
Should I take the crystal ball there too?
Yeah, whatever you'd like.
Well, I'm asking the group. I'm saying, should we or should we not?
We're trying to know what the crystal ball does already.
Do you want someone to tag along with you, Chris, or are you good?
I mean, you're probably gonna have questions for the wizard guy in that. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go with the professor then.
Okay, so why don't we let's take care of Chris first, and then we'll get everybody back to the professor and see how that goes. So Chris goes to the local tavern and gets some breakfast. And so, are you talking to anybody? Is Corlu talking to anybody? Or is he just kind of listening on the edge of things, or?
Well, kind of listening on the edge of things. If I see anybody that I know that recognizes me as being one of the newly appointed deputies, say hi to them and kind of mention that I heard there was a lot of goings on while we were gone.
Well, there happens to be another elf who's in the area. He's down in town for business, and he stopped by for a cup of tea before he headed back. And he sits and he talks with you, and he says, it's terrible that the prisoner escaped, and the sheriff was hurt, and the rumor is they're really wondering. There's a fellow in town, with Damiac and Lemmy out of the picture, fellow by the name of Joe Potato, and they're wondering whether he may have had something to do with it, but he's really been out of the picture for a while. They haven't seen him around for a few days. However, he might be somebody to look into, or I will definitely let you know if we hear he gets back in town. He's big fella, husky, has real light brown hair, and always wears a tan coat. That's why they call him that. He almost looks like a potato, just 'cause that's his shape. But watch out, because there's a lot of muscle behind him. He's not just a fat guy.
All right, thanks for the heads up on that. And if you do hear anything, I appreciate the help, and
absolutely.
Might be a reward in it.
Oh, we elves aren't worried about that. We'll just do it because it's the right thing to do.
Well, the sheriff's okay, and none of the rest of the civilians got hurt that I know of. Have you heard of anybody else having anything happen around the same time?
No, we didn't hear of anybody getting hurt. One thing I can also do for you is I'll ask around and ask any of the other elves. You know that sometimes they go out and they're spending time in the woods and hunting. You know, they may have seen something on the edges of town. So I can certainly keep that in mind.
I appreciate that, cousin.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very welcome. And please, when you have more time, please come up and stay at the Elf Quarter with us.
All right.
Okay, so the rest of the group gets to the professor's, and you can see I have a little picture of him up there. I thought I might finally show you what he looks like, or at least what in my mind he looks like. And he says, "Oh, come in. I'm glad to have you back. I have something you definitely might be able to help me with. She's in terrible shape."
All right.
So he takes you over to the cottage, and Rappaccini is there, looking a lot different than when you saw him last time. He's clad in very simple clothes, and his head is down, and he's sitting on a little chair next to the bedside of his daughter. The room he has it very dim. But what you can see is in her skin, awful lot of a green shade that wasn't there before. And her eyes are closed. She's breathing, but you see the sweat on her brow as well.
Rappaccini, what's going on here?
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. I never thought this would have happened. Never. I never would have done any of my experiments. The only thing I can figure is from being around all my plant experiments, is she, especially in her developing years, she must have been absorbing things, and now it's finally come back and it's poisoning her. It's sent her system into a shock, which has caused this.
Was there anything that can be done for her?
I don't know. I just don't know. You might ask the professor. He may know of some, another plant medication that might help bring it out of her system or clear out the toxins. And I'll certainly do anything. Whatever I don't have much, but whatever you ask of me in the future, I'll definitely do for you. If you could just save my daughter.
Is there anything back at your facility that could help her?
No, that's doubtful because that's all the experiments, probably that made her sick. One thing I didn't do much experimentation on was flowers. That just wasn't my area. And, I'm just wondering with my researches that there might not be some extract in some flowers that might be able to help her, but I just don't know enough about it.
Who would know?
Well, the professor says, well, if we come into my study, maybe you could take a look at some books of mine, and I'll certainly look through some things and try and get some information.
Okay, I have some other things for you to look at as well.
Oh, well, what do you have, Fandar? So I'm going to assume, you guys leave the room and leave poor Rappaccini and his daughter there.
Right.
And go back into the professor's study. Oh, and also, am I too loud on the mic?
No, you're just fine to me.
Oh, okay. I have this mic, and it sits, right in front of my lips, so I worry that I'm blasting.
No, it sounds great.
It's okay. It's not too much.
Nope.
Okay. So you go back to the professor's study, and he asks you, says, well, what do you have to show me?
I found these crystals. The dark elf that we brought back was working with them to try and bring his dead dark elf friend back to life.
I wonder if they're the same as the other crystals or something else. Do you want to leave them with me, and I can take a look at them?
Yes.
And was there anything else?
I have these feathers. I hand him the siren feathers. I didn't know if you'd find them of any interest.
Well, where did you get it? Where did you bump into a siren?
Well, on our way back, we encountered these strange clouds. And I tell him a bit about that fight and how how that fight went. And then the next thing we knew, there were sirens, and our ship was heading for the mountain. And of course, I was not susceptible to them. So, although a couple of the other party members were, but we managed to prevail, of course. Let me tell you that siren wings make a great dinner, but I saved some of these for you.
Well, I'll certainly take a look at them. I don't know that they're anything magical. I'm surprised the sirens are working this far north. Huh. Usually they're much further to the south. I wonder what's driven them up this far north.
That's a good question.
It's something we will have to look into.
And was there anything else?
You mentioned some books on flowers you wanted us to check out.
Yes. And I'll certainly do the same. I've been in my talks with Rappaccini. I've been going through them. But I do have some that are written in other dialects that I'm not terribly familiar with. So he does bring out some books. They're very old and they're very dusty. He gives one to Paolo that seems to be more in a halfling dialect. He has some that are in dwarvish runes that he's not horribly familiar with. And he gives Fandar the elf one. And he says to Reuben, he says, and you can help me with some of these in common, maybe.
Okay.
So how about everybody give me an intelligence roll? Just roll under your intelligence. Or not.
I rolled a 5.
So you're good.
Everybody?
Yeah, everybody. Because you all have some books and we're all helping.
I did not roll under my intelligence.
Okay. How about Brian?
I got a 10.
Yeah, so you should be good, right?
Let me double check.
Yeah, I think he's smarter than that.
Yeah, 13. Yep.
I'm good. I got a 4 and I have a 12.
Yep. So what happens is, and I'm just going to kind of talk through it, do a little talking rather than. What you find is that there does seem to be this flower. There seems to be this flower, a lily, that's really known for its curative properties, especially against different poisons. But it's an older plant. Like these books you're finding it in are very, very old, and there really hasn't been. You show it to the professor, and he says, I don't know. There hasn't been any record of this. I think that flower may be extinct. But what Paolo finds in his book is he finds this old story about the Autumn Queen, this ancient story who supposedly took these flowers.
Does it say where the Autumn Queen is now, or?
And the professor says the Autumn Queen. Oh, that's such an old legend. That's almost a fairy story. The rumor, the old story was that she'd actually come from another place or another world, and was stealing all the beautiful things from this world to take there. And it was sort of a way to explain when things disappeared, what happened to them. Now,
what people did this story originate from?
Well, it's what Fandar finds is looking in his book is that it seems like further to the kind of the south and the east of where you are, there's another elvish farming area where the elves had settled. And that seems to be where the story came from. But what Reuben finds is he also finds a mention in one of the books